Hello and welcome back to Lit for Queers and welcome back to our corner of news. So today we're talking about April news. As most of us have learned, the UK has ruled that the legal definition of woman is based on biological sex. On April 16, the United Kingdom Supreme Court issued a unanimous ruling interpreting the terms women and sex under the Equality Act 2010 to refer strictly to biological sex assigned at birth. 14 national LGBTQ plus charities have banded together to send a letter to Prime Minister Keir Starmer, which says that the judgment has created confusion and a significant lack of clarity about what this means for businesses, services, and civil society, and most importantly, the impact on trans people. The text, seen by The Guardian, suggests that the judgment turns previous understanding of the Equality Act completely on its head, creating, quote unquote, a legal framework that simply cannot uphold the dignity, protection, and respect of trans people. Going over to Hungary, a delegation of EU lawmakers visiting Hungary has called on Europe's top court to suspend a new law banning Budapest Pride, as they criticized a quote unquote very hostile atmosphere for LGBTQ plus people in the country and urge a return to real democracy. The five MEPs arrived in Hungary on the day that lawmakers passed a constitutional amendment allowing the government to ban LGBTQ plus events. That change codified a law passed in March banning pride marches and allowing authorities to use facial recognition technology to track attenders so they could be fined. It has been described by one rights group as quote unquote full frontal attack on LGBTQ plus people. We have the US, where trans soldiers who serve their country are now seeing their healthcare being rolled back. About 130,000 trans veterans live in the US, with many now blocked from life saving gender affirming care. The crackdown has sent shockwaves through the VA, which functions as one of the US's largest healthcare providers, offering free or low cost care to more than 9 million veterans. After Trump's inauguration, some VA health centers began removing LGBTQ affiliated objects, including pride flags, rainbow magnets, stickers, and posters. Rollbacks became official in March when the VA rescinded Directive 1341, a policy that ensured the respectful delivery of health care to transgender and intersex veterans, and announced the phasing out of gender affirming medical care. The agency had been providing gender affirming treatment, including hormone therapy, prosthetics, hair removal, voice coaching, and pre surgical evaluation, including letters of support, for more than a decade. While cisgender veterans will still be able to access these treatments, veterans diagnosed with gender dysphoria are now excluded. Moving over to Russia, Russian authorities have banned the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which focuses on HIV and AIDS prevention, citing its support for LGBTQ plus rights as a reason for the move. The government defined it as an undesirable organization, a label that bans the group from operating in Russia altogether and exposes its staff and partners to potential criminal prosecution. The Prosecutor General's office accused the foundation of promoting non traditional sexual relationships, Western family models, and gender reassignment. Moving over to a little bit of news that are a bit more happy, we have Australia, where the Labour Party has said that they would provide healthcare workers with training to care for LGBTQ plus Australians in a 10 million package to upskill doctors and nurses alongside a new accreditation program. That's what the Health Minister, Mark Butler, said. The election promise that was announced mid-April would see Labour contract a training provider to design programs to train healthcare workers to help give inclusive, culturally safe primary care for gay, lesbian, and gender diverse Australians. Going over to the Caribbeans, so many activists across the Caribbean are now fighting and have been fighting to remove prohibitions and laws against queer people. They are now concerned about the recent outcome of an appeal against a 2018 High Court judgment in Trinidad and Tobago to remove the country's buggery law passed in 1925 under British rule. Last month, Trinidad's Supreme Court upheld the government's appeal against the 2018 ruling and recriminalized the act in a very disheartening result. Jason Jones, the LGBTQ plus activist who brought the 2018 case, told The Guardian the Supreme Court decision revolved around a colonial legal legacy called the Savings Clause. He said, and I quote, "These are provisions that protect a lot of the colonial laws from being challenged. A lot of them came up when we were becoming independent as Caribbean countries, so that all the colonial laws were preserved and that it was up to Parliament to decide when those laws were changed rather than people going to court." And finally, we have Poland. This is a good piece of news, finally. We have a country that has now abolished the last remaining LGBTQ plus free zone in the country. A town council in the southeast of Poland was the last area to bring an end to the zones. There were previously around 100 local authorities that declared LGBTQ plus free zones. However, human rights organizations EU opposed the zones, resulting in suspending cohesion funds for regions that passed, introducing the zones. In 2022, the Supreme Administrative Court ruled that the declarations infringed upon dignity and private lives of certain groups of residents. Now, the final zone has been abolished in 2025. And so here you have everything that I have found, everything that came out about queer rights and queer people in April. I know these are not all good pieces of news, but as I always say, we must stay educated and we must know what is happening in the world. So hopefully in May we will have happier news. But until then, I'll leave you with this, and you can always catch up by looking at past videos as well. Bye.